Officer Barnes calls radiation experts to come and deal with the source on the farm and remains at the farm until their arrival. After expert arrives, Officer Barnes informs him the source is in Ivan's old storage building and then departs. Ivan waited for the radiation expert to come, but he couldn't help but worry about what might happen to his animals and to him.
Oh dear, what is going to happen to my animals with this radioactive source on my farm? What if the radiation makes my animals grow big like Godzilla? What if they start glowing green like they do in all those movies I've seen? Or worse, what if they start to mutate and grow extra heads or something? What's going to happen to me? Is this going to give me cancer? My farm is ruined. I'll never be able to sell this farm now, and I can't afford to buy a new plot of land.
Calm down, Ivan. Hollywood appears to have given you a wild misconception of what we're dealing with here.
Who are you?
My name is Brad, and I'm with the Search and Secure team.
What's the Search and Secure team?
Our mission is to locate and recover orphan radioactive sources in order to protect the health and safety of the public. Orphan sources are those that are not under regulatory control due to being lost, stolen, or abandoned. We work with regulatory authorities all over the world to locate and recover radioactive sources. As a result of our program, thousands of sources have been recovered and secured so that they no longer pose a threat to the public. Plus, securing these sources keeps them out of the hands of anyone who may want to use them for malicious intent.
Thank goodness you're here.
Officer Barnes informed me the source is in your building. Why don't you show me where the source of radiation is?
All right, follow me. It's this pile of scrap here.
I see. My rat eye is telling me that there is a source here, but this isn't anything strong enough to make your animals sick.
What do you mean? It has to be what's making them sick.
Ivan, it sounds like you could use a short lesson on radiation. The dose rate here at about 1 meter from the source is about 20 microsieverts per hour, and far too low to negatively impact your animals. This is above the background reading of about 0.35 microsieverts per hour, but not a dangerous dose rate. This is a relatively low activity source. It would take at least several sieverts of acute exposure to a high dose rate for your animals to begin to show the effects experienced. This would mean your animals would have to be in close proximity to a high activity source with a dose rate of about 1 sievert per hour for several hours. This dose rate is more than 1 million times higher than background radiation.
Well, I guess it's not as bad as it sounds. But what about baby? I don't know what I'd do if my little lamb grew an extra head.
An extra head? Hollywood. It seems like you've seen one too many cheesy movies. Those movies don't accurately portray how radiation really affects people or animals. I think I better bust some myths about radiation that you may have heard. First, being exposed to radiation isn't going to cause you to grow an extra head or arm or any other limb for that matter.
Well, can't radiation make animals grow, like in that movie with the giant lizard that terrorized Tokyo?
That's not true either. Have you ever seen or heard of anything remotely like Godzilla other than in the movies?
I guess not. What about turning big and green and mean like that incredible guy in the movies?
The Hulk? No, Just another myth. Radiation doesn't make you turn big and green or does it make you glow, but it does help Hollywood at the box office. Their bizarre storylines do help to keep my work interesting.
Thank you so much for clearing this up. I feel much better now. But if the source in my shed didn't cause my animals to become sick, then what did?
That's a great question, Ivan. I understand that there was a pile of material here previously. What can you tell me about that?
Well, a bunch of metal scrap was dumped on my property recently, and I've had it removed.
Metal scrap. Do you know where it came from?
No, Officer Barnes asked me about it too. I gave him some information about the person that came and picked it up, and he said he would investigate.
Well, since the source in your storage shed was relatively low activity, it's very likely that there was a high activity source in that scrap that created the high dose rate that affected your animals. We'll have to wait for the results of Officer Barnes' investigation to be certain.
What about my animals? Will Baby and the rest of my animals be all right?
It could be that they received only enough exposure to make them nauseous and lethargic. I noticed earlier that they were grazing. That's a good sign. It could be they'll be just fine in time, but the vet will need to determine that for certain.
That's a relief. I'll see if the vet can come right over.